Hello. I know it is 5 minutes before we're supposed to start, but honestly, I am so excited. I couldn't resist jumping in early. So we'll take this 5 minutes to get settled in, say hi, see where everyone's from, and just check that the stream is working okay. So first off, hi, I'm Gillian. We've got the lovely Maggie there in the chat. Maggie is our moderator for this session. So please support her in, keeping the peace in the comments and all of that good stuff. And as we get started, I just want to check, can you hear the puppy in the background? I have given him some frozen meat in an attempt to kind of calm him down and keep him occupied while we do this. So yeah, just let me know if you can hear some strange noises in the background. I also want to give a shout out to, oh gosh, what is her name? I can't see the comment anymore. I think it was Sarah, the late night coffee mum. What was her name? It is gone. I apologize. You can't shout out someone if you've forgotten their name. But for everyone who is watching this session as a replay, you're still able to ask questions. Just leave a comment and I will get back to you. You can also email me. I'll have my email address at the end of this presentation. But I would prefer if you left your question as a comment on the YouTube video or here in the chat so that other people can see the question, see my answer, and everyone benefits. Likewise, there will be 10 minutes for a Q&A at the end of the session. If I don't get to your question then, please do leave it as a comment and I will I've got to run off and do a writing live stream immediately after we finish this, but I plan to spend the rest of my afternoon going through the comments and making sure that I answer all the questions. So to make sure that I don't miss it, please just leave it as a comment on the YouTube video. So yeah, who is having the greatest time with this conference? I am so excited. I got up early for Sarah Cannon's presentation, Planning to Thrive, and it was fantastic. I thoroughly recommend it. I also went back and I watched a couple that I missed from yesterday. I think it was Nia James, World Building on the Go. So simple, but like I had never thought of any of that stuff, and it just makes so much sense. And also, what was it? Mandy Lynn. Something about the book launch, like how to have the best ever book launch. That was not the title. That was pretty much what the presentation was. And yeah, again, just really awesome stuff. I kind of joined when it was live, but I had to dip in and out, and it was so good that I actually sat down and watched the entire thing through again, start to finish, and it was just brilliant. So yeah, I feel pretty excited to be in such great company, and I really hope that you're all as excited as I am. Yeah, the successful book launch, Angel, thank you. That sounds right. So we've got a minute before we get started, but I would like to encourage everyone to grab a pen and a piece of paper. We're hopefully going to have the chance to do a bit of plotting together. I really wanted this to be an interactive session, but when I was preparing my slides and I just kept on getting more and more slides, I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure if I'm going to have time for everything I want to touch on. I will do my best, but yeah. Okay, it is 9 a.m. here in New Zealand, which means it is 5 p.m. in Eastern Daylight Time. So let's get started. Now, Do I remember how to do this? Here we go. This is looking good. And here we go. Character-driven plotting. Oh gosh. Good thing we started early because that background is going to bother me. Give me one moment. Okay, there we go. Yeah. You get all of the beside the scenes stuff with me. There is no pretense of being a polished professional here. Okay, so character-driven plotting. Oh, I need to do my little welcome here. So I'm presenting character-driven plotting as part of the Authortube Writing Conference 2022. There are a ton of amazing presentations. There is a writing stream and a publishing stream. There are links for both below in the description for this video. I highly recommend checking them out. If you haven't already gathered, I have learned so much already just from the handful of presentations that I have attended. So yeah, huge thanks to Shannon and Jenna for organizing this, and for all of the moderators like Maggie who are keeping things moving smoothly. So if you haven't already, please grab a pen and paper or open up a new Google Doc. I'm really hoping that we're going to get the chance to do a bit of work together. I'm one of those people who learn best by doing, and that is kind of my approach to teaching as well. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to myself and also what I mean by character-driven plotting and why I think it's useful. But the bulk of this presentation is going to be the how. I'm not kidding. I have 22 slides, which seems like an insane amount to me, but here we go. And yeah, so we're going to learn how to put your characters in the driver's seat. I'm going to share some resources with you. And then at the end, oh my gosh. So as you can hear, the puppy has already devoured the frozen meat I gave him. Maggie's having intermittent power outages, so hopefully Jenna is able to step in as a mod if we need one. But yeah, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A at the end. So let's get started. While you grab your pen and paper and a snack and a drink if you don't already have one, I'll introduce myself. I am Gillian St. Kevin. I have been publishing since 2015. My most successful book, or the one that readers seem to enjoy the most, is The Secretary and the Ghost, my kind of gas-lampy, gothic, romancy nonsense. And then we've got Deep Magic, which is kind of the story of my heart. It's an urban fantasy without the urban, pretty much. I write paranormal romance with Thorns and Fangs. The Ugliest Sweater is my contemporary comedy. And then The Vampire's Relic, I've put that there to kind of show that I write lesbian romance as well as gay romance. I write all across the LGBTQ plus spectrum. So it is not, oh my gosh, George. For me, it is not about the genre or the pairing. It is about the characters and their stories, and really all of my plotting, all of my stories start with a character. There's a character right here. This is George the puppy. He's also my editor. And right now he's very interested in the treats that I got him to hopefully keep him quiet during this presentation. So now that you've met George, the most important part of this presentation, we can get into what is character-driven plotting. So very quickly, a question for everyone watching live: how do you plot? Just put your answer into the chat. Do you A, work out a character arc? B, work out your story structure? C, work out story beats? D, jump in and see what happens? E, a combination of some of the above? Or F, all of the above? And there are no wrong answers here. I am purely curious and interested to see, where people are coming from. So Emma works out story beats. Angel is all of the above. That's really cool to see. Oh, neat. We've got quite a few Fs. And a B from Jessie. Oh, Sally Sue, say what again? G, none of the above. I'm rather bad at plotting. Oh, this is fantastic. So yeah, I'm glad to see that there are a lot of people mixing and matching here, because yeah, the really important thing to remember about writing advice is that writers, as a group, we love to give advice, we love to share our experiences, but you've always got to remember that there is no one size fits all. So I highly encourage you to take everything I say today, but take it critically. Recognize that I'm sharing what works for me and what I am passionate about. But this may not work for you. There may be some bits that resonate, some things that don't. I encourage you to give it a try. But if you try it out and it doesn't click, discard it. You have learned something useful. You have learned that, hey, this certain thing doesn't work, but hey, this other thing might. And so, we're all constantly working out our approach, and this is what works for me at this moment. It is constantly evolving. I did this presentation in March for the Canterbury Romance Writers, and it was a completely different presentation because, I have evolved since March. So yeah, please feel free to mix and match. But today we're going to be talking about a kind of plotting solution that involves F, all of the above, which is where I am now. Oh my gosh, Morgan, hello. We have Morgan Lee joining us. Morgan did an absolutely amazing presentation yesterday on writing diverse characters. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it went really well, but I'm actually really glad Morgan's here because I would really like their input on what I'm going to be talking about very soon. But yeah, so character-driven plotting combines character arc and story structure and story beats in such a way that the character informs the beat, informs the plot. This means that every moment of the plot kind of is informed by your characters' choices, their dreams, their goals, their ambitions, their fears, and that just heightens things so much. But it also gives you freedom to kind of go with the flow and let your character take the lead. So I'm not going to be talking a lot about story structure or story beats, but I have some resources down here. So for story structure and character arc, Michael Hay is fantastic. He has a streaming video that you can purchase where he talks about the hero's journey, and I find that just really phenomenal. But for story beats, now I first met story beats through James Scott Bell's Write Your Novel from the Middle. I have made a mistake in my slide. It's not story, it's novel. And Gwen Hayes, Romancing the Beat. If you are familiar with Save the Cat and that makes sense to you, then just stick with Save the Cat. It's basically the same thing with different names. So, yeah. So, moving on, we know what character-driven plotting is, so why try it? So, I believe this is useful for anyone, no matter what your plotting style is. Even if you don't like to plot before you write, you can use it afterwards when you edit to kind of, as a checklist, to make sure that everything matches up and kind of see where you're missing something or see where you've got too much and need to trim, and just check that your character choices are staying true to who they are and the journey they're on. Jenna's just shared a link to Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which is awesome. Thank you, Jenna. And but yeah, by putting the character at the heart of the story, you are heightening the reader's investment in your story, because you can have a fantastic story. It can hit all the right structural points. It can give amazing pacing. But if your main character is bland, no one's going to care. Puppy, get down. Yeah, and character is what keeps readers invested, keeps them turning pages until late at night, and it makes them mad at you and send you angry emails saying, I stayed up till 3 a.m. and I'm at work and I'm tired and cranky, and it's because of you. When is the sequel coming? You know? So yeah, I honestly believe that character can help anyone. Well, character-driven plotting is a useful tool for anyone, no matter what type of writer you are or how you prefer to plot. So yeah, as I said, you can use it before you write as a plotting tool. You can use it while you write to address story issues that crop up when you're dealing with writer's block or other creative hiccups. I always find when I get to a part of the story and I know what I need to write according to my plot, but I can't but I can't make myself write it. It is usually because my plot doesn't align with my characters. There's a disconnect between what the character would do and what I want them to do in my plot. Returning to the character helps me kind of figure out, okay, that's what's happening here. What would my character do instead? And yeah, once you've got your first draft, you can use this sort of framework to go through and check that everything matches up, everything's in alignment and resonating. And you can also use it when crafting your blurb, your tagline, and other marketing materials, because you really want to sell the character that is at the heart of your story. So step one, we are now looking at how to create our character-driven plot. So we start with an adjective and a noun. So basically, well, this works if you are the kind of author whose characters jump into their heads sort of fully formed and with a voice and ready to go. Or if you're kind of starting with a genre and you're like, I really love to write a mystery, so I know that I need a reluctant amateur detective. And so you're kind of trying to build your character around the role they fill. Or you might just have a vague sense of someone, but you don't really have their name or much of their personality. You've just got this idea, this very, very tenuous idea in your head. I gave George the best chair so that he would leave me alone today. And yeah, he's not having any of it. So when you come to the adjective noun, kind of think about it as sort of boiling down your character to its like the essence of how they view themselves. So, and kind of think about it in terms of how do they identify? What labels do they give themselves, and how do other people view them? As an example of what I mean by this, when I was teaching English in Japan, I was one of the few New Zealanders. Actually, I was the only New Zealander in my town. There was one other New Zealander in the entire prefecture that I lived in. So people often assumed that I was British or American. So when I introduced myself, one of the first things I made sure people knew about me was that I was from New Zealand. When I moved back to New Zealand, weirdly enough, I don't go around telling people I'm from New Zealand. It's no longer a point of difference, so it's not really how I identify. Instead, I'm more likely to tell people, hey, I'm a writer, or I am an aunt to 2 awesome kids and 1 naughty puppy. Yeah. Morgan, this is where I thought your input would be super useful because, yeah, especially when it comes to the point of difference. So when I was in Japan, a lot of the time I was the only New Zealander in a situation. Sometimes I was the only non-Japanese person in a situation, and that was my point of difference. And that makes a big impact on how you identify and the labels you craft for yourself. But if you are working in a big corporate business environment and you are the only gay person in that environment, you might be super conscious of that. Alternatively, you might like to kind of put that part of your identity away in a box and concentrate on the fact that you are the best accountant in this business and you are kind of owning what you do. And the other thing that I'd like to talk about here is contradictions. People are not simple and straightforward. And I find that everyone has like little quirks, things that make them different. So my mother is a vicar. She is a very strong believing Anglican. Her faith has been a massive part of her life. She's also a marine biologist. She has a doctorate. She is incredibly smart and she believes in science. So it is kind of, people see that and they think, wow, there's a bit of a disconnect there. And that all people have everyone has those little things that don't fit the mold that we create for people. So let's give this a try. I would like everyone who is born in the months between January and June to just throw an adjective into the chat. And if you're born from July through December, throw in a noun and let's try and craft a character. And yeah, Morgan says, also depending on who you are around, you'll most likely adjust how you behave or speak. This is very, very important. Oh, okay, Laura's given us Sunny. What else are we going to get here? Teacher, baker, opinionate. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've got an opinionated baker. I love that. Okay. I'm sorry to everyone. Those are the ones that really stood out for me. And we've got baker and teacher and detective as nouns, and what's the word? Professions work really, really well for this. Familial roles like mother, aunt, daughter, those also hold a lot of power. But yeah, I am sticking with our opinionated baker. So let's go on. And then you interview your character. So we've got this opinionated baker, and we ask them why. So, why is our baker opinionated? Because people think that because he does a menial job and he works with his hands, that he's dumb. Why do they think that? Well, he didn't finish high school. He dropped out of school early, and he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder about that. Why? Maybe his brothers have all gone into corporate jobs and they're doing well. His younger brother is killing it in IT. His older brother is a lawyer, and he is the odd one out of the family. George, what are you doing? But yeah, so let's keep going. So why does it matter what his brothers do? Oh, as he always feels like his family aren't accepting of him and his choices. Why? Well, when he was a kid and he asked for the easy bake oven instead of the monster truck, his dad laughed at him and said, "Hey, this is not a choice a boy would make. You know, what's wrong with you?" So you just keep asking why until you hit gold. So Jenna's got a good question here. As a sprinter, would you say this goes hand in hand with that for step 2? Use a sprint to fill in all the whys you can think of. You definitely can do this as a focused sprint, but instead of doing all the whys, I think just taking, well, you can do all of the whys and then find the why that resonates, but then just keep digging into it. So kind of like you've got an onion and you're peeling off layers. I am sorry for the Shrek reference. It was just the first thing that came to mind. But just keep pulling them back until you get at what is really at the heart of it. So this opinionated baker who feels that he has to constantly justify his choices, that all comes back to asking for an easy bake oven and his dad making fun of him for it. So hopefully this makes sense. I am kind of upset for our opinionated baker. Like, yeah, I am angry on his behalf. Oh yeah, Angel says, when I outline my scenes, sometimes I have to use that sprinting time to dig and brainstorm for the whys to make the logical leap for my scenes too. If the onion method or the 3-year-old method doesn't work for you, then definitely try and brainstorm instead. But it doesn't matter how you get there, but just keep going until you do. So now that we have our character's why, we can turn that into the premise. And this is also known as the lie if you're working with Michael Hayes' framework. This is what your character believes that is holding them back from reaching their full potential. It comes directly from your character's why. So our baker believes that everyone is judging him for not pursuing a traditionally masculine career. So he's like the world is against me. Everyone wants me to fail. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, his lie is that everyone is judging me. So now that we've got the lie, we can go to the next bit, which is your character's truth. And this is basically the opposite of their premise, the lie they tell themselves about. This is what belief they need, the mindset shift they need to get them to the happiest and best version of themselves. So if our baker believes that everyone is judging him, I think that the opposite of that, the truth would be, I am inspiring to others. My work is inspirational. So I've mentioned Rachel Stevens here. She has an amazing little series on YouTube where she teaches the plot embryo, which is a plotting method that she uses and that I've also adopted. I'm not going to talk about it today because we only have an hour, but I highly recommend going to Rachel Stevens. Just search for her on YouTube and look for her plot embryo, and she goes in more in depth here. But Michael Hay and James Scott Bell, and I believe Save the Cat as well, also really dig into the characters' lie and truth. But yes. Oh, Morgan, I'm so happy to hear that. I love it too. So we've got our character's lie and our character's truth. And so we've got to now get them to reject the premise. So the lie is what our characters believe at the beginning of the story. So when we meet our opinionated baker, he's being defensive because he believes he's being judged. When he is living his truth at the end, when he's recognized that he is an inspiration, we see him being proud and happy and excited to share what he's doing as a baker. So, yeah, but we need to figure out what happens in the middle that gets him there. James Scott Bell calls this the mirror moment, and Write Your Novel from the Middle really goes in deep in this. Basically, James noticed that in a lot of books and movies, I think he was watching Casablanca and he hit pause because he needed to go to the bathroom. He came back and realized that it was at the exact middle point of the film and the main character was looking into a mirror. A few days later, he was watching something else and he noticed the exact same thing. And basically, it's a moment at the middle of your story where your character is kind of confronted with the realization that if they stay in the lie with the mindset they have now, they're stuck, they're trapped, they're not going to progress beyond where they are currently. And they're confronted with what will happen if they don't change, and it kind of forces them to look at themselves and assess where they are, and that's going to make them make the change, reject the lie, and embrace the truth. It is a really powerful moment, and James Scott Bell describes it much better than I do. But what is going to make this happen for our character? So we need an earth-shattering event that will rock your character's foundations to their core and truly make them question the premise on which their identity lies. So here we have our exercise. So you can do this for the opinionated baker if you like, or you can do this for your own character if you are currently plotting something or have a story that you're currently writing on. So basically, we're just going to grab a piece of paper and write down 1 to 10. And then usually I would give us 10 minutes to do this. Because I'm a bit worried about time, I'm just going to, oh, I've lost my phone. That's a worry. I'm just going to give us 5 minutes. So instead of an alarm, it will just be me saying, okay, 5 minutes is up. But we're just going to quickly brainstorm 10 worst possible things that could happen to our opinionated baker. So let's get started. Okay, it is 5 minutes is up. Angel says, by the end of this, we'll have an opinionated baker collection for an anthology. Love it. I do too, because everything that we write today, even if we have like similar, anything basically that we write, even though we're starting from a similar place, it will come out completely different because that's who we are as writers. So yeah, I actually have a list of 11, which I did not expect, but you'll see that as I go through mine, they get a bit crazier towards the end, and that is because, like, when you do this exercise, the first 5 or so, they are pretty ordinary. They're what's easy to think of and what immediately comes to mind. But then once the easy stuff is gone, you have to dig. You have to really get creative. And sometimes these ideas are winners. Sometimes you're like, what the hell? That's okay, as long as you are kind of thinking outside the box and digging deep into your creativity, you're going to come up with something magic. So I've got the first earth-shattering event I've come up with is that the bakery burns down due to either a hate crime or maybe our own baker's negligence. Maybe he was having a Twitter argument and got so invested he forgot to do his check and make sure that everything was turned off. He needs a loan from his dad to grow his business or save his business. There's an accident and the insurance won't pay up, and he has to turn to community fundraising to save his bakery. Or his brother is involved in a stress-related accident, or maybe his marriage is collapsing, and the baker realizes that that his brother's attempt to like win and keep their dad's approval is actually really harming them, and they are not enjoying their lives at all. Or he yells at his own son for not living up to his expectations and realizes he is repeating the cycle. Maybe an influencer gets into an argument with him and he gets blasted on social media, and this has a really bad impact on his business. Maybe the episode of Kitchen Nightmare that he was on airs, and everyone is like, wow, this guy is a complete ass. Maybe he is abducted by aliens who hate pastries. His best-selling recipe is stolen by his trusted assistant, and he realizes that he is entirely alone. He's lost everyone he's close to because he cannot stand not being right about something. Or the dog eats the prized family recipe book. I wonder how I came up with that. Or he loses a bake-off to a rival baker. So it's public humiliation and his rivals. So we've got an opinionated baker. Maybe we've got a Zen baker. Maybe the baker is George. Yeah, we've got so much happening here. So yeah, throw in your suggestions, basically. Let's see what you came up with, but I'm going to move on. But I hope that this gives you an example. But yeah, we have 15, I think, more steps to go. Oh no, sorry, we've got 5 more steps to go. So, but we've only got, oh gosh, we've only got 10 minutes if we want to have time for questions. So we're going to move on. I'm in the wrong window. Oh, okay, this is brilliant. Apparently I skipped step 6. So we are further ahead than I thought we were. No, puppy. But yeah, so oh my gosh, George, here we go. Hang on a second. Go find it. Yes. Okay, so we have got their conflict already. So basically what we've got here is a goal motivation and conflict chart for their character's external journey and their internal journey. And basically, we've already got the internal conflict. We know that he believes that everyone is judging him. So what is his goal that comes from the truth? So basically, the truth is that he is an inspiration. So basically, his internal goal is to like inspire other people by being the best baker he can possibly be. Why? To give others the validation that he didn't receive conflict. He believes that people are judging him. So, but you know, this is what's happening inside. Our opinionated baker, despite having lots to say on pretty much every subject under the sun, he's not actually that self-aware. So goal, maybe he wants to just he wants to out earn his brother with his bakery. So maybe he wants to like expand his business and make bank. So yeah, the external goal, make bank. Motivation, to prove that he is better than or as good as his brothers. Conflict, he is a baker in a pandemic. This is not going to be an easy journey for him. Also, there are little things like dogs who eat recipes, and that Zen baker who is also kind of gathering attention and serving up pastries and all of that. So yeah, he has a lot of external conflicts. So yeah, if you get stuck for this is another good place where you can break out the 10 for 10 or the 20 for 20, which basically you do your 10 things, and then once you've kind of had a moment to kind of breathe, have a drink, assess what you've got, you then set the timer for another 10 minutes and you do it again for 11 to 20, and you just really dig deep, go nuts, consider any possibility. So now we have, we know quite a bit about this baker already. So it's time to kind of fill that out. So if I'm assuming that you are familiar with story structure and everything here, if you're not, yeah, Michael Hay, James Scott Bell, Gwen Hayes, if you write romance, she is so good for romance. But what we're doing here is, oh my gosh, you guys will have been thinking like, what is she talking about? Sorry about that. I've had my slides up. I haven't been sharing them. So basically, this is what the external, internal goal, motivation, conflict kind of setup looks like. Deborah Dixon talks about this in GMC, goal, motivation, and conflict, but I was introduced to this by Sarah Cannon, who did an amazing presentation this morning, but who also has a very short series on her YouTube channel, Heart Breathings, that is called How to Plot a Novel. And yeah, basically she explains this in much more detail, but I will leave that to you guys to investigate further. And I will also leave these to for you to investigate further. But basically, the opening is your character living the lie. So it is the baker in his everyday life, arguing with customers, arguing with his staff, arguing with his delivery drivers. The inciting incident is a moment that kind of gives hints at the external or internal conflict to come. So with our baker, this could be a reminder that he's got a family dinner coming up at the end of the week, and you know, this puts him in an even worse mood. So the argument versus transformation, which is kind of when the character gets confronted with the truth, and instead of saying, yeah, you know what, I will go to Mordor, or accepting his this possibility to change, he rejects it and says, basically says, no, I am sticking with my life. So for this baker, maybe he has a really trusted staff member who has been with him since the start. She is his front of house person, and she has all of the people skills that he does not. And he's just sort of told a customer that if he doesn't like it, he can, show himself the door. And she's like, hey, boss, have you ever thought about, not being so defensive and instead accepting the fact that, hey, this guy was here because he likes what you do, be proud of what you do. Not everyone's here to judge you. And he's like, nah, I'm going to stay an opinionated ass. So yeah, the doorway of no return. This is generally tied to the character's external goal. This is them committing to the action that's going to drive the story forward. At that family dinner, he gets into an argument with his brother and he's like, fuck you, I'm going to show you. By Thanksgiving, I'm going to have bought a new house. I'm going to have 2 stores, whatever it is that he's now going to be working towards. The mirror moment we've already touched on. And the darkest moment, the worst thing that could happen to your character. Because we have already brainstormed, so many worst things that could happen, we have got, I'm pretty sure that one of the things on this list will be the mirror moment, but another one will be the darkest moment, the worst thing that could happen to your character. And you know what? You probably have a final battle here too. This is the moment that your character truly rejects the premise. So maybe the darkest moment is when our baker goes to his dad and he's like, Dad, my bakery is in trouble. I really need $10,000 to get me through this hurdle and take me to the next step. And Dad is like, no way am I helping you. I've said all along that you were a failure, and this only proves it. So now he's got no bakery, and his dad has confirmed that he judges him and thinks so little of him. But in the final battle, the character goes to crowdfunding to ask for help. And he realizes so many people donate, and they're like, you're an inspiration, man. I love you. I love what you do. You inspired me to do this. And he realizes that, hey, I matter to this community, and I have a really empowering effect on the people around me. So step 9. So this is a step that I have added recently, and this is kind of building yourself a character cheat sheet for when you're writing. So I've got 2 resources here that I really recommend. Verbalize by Damon Swade. And this is kind of built on the premise that actions speak louder than words. So take the adjective and the noun that we came up with in step 1 and find 5 synonyms for each. Go. And then come up with verbs to match. So opinionated, argue, yell. Argue, yell, mock. Gosh, I need a thesaurus, but you get the idea basically. And then the Emotion Thesaurus by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. So look up a few emotions and come up with a few ticks for your character. So because our opinionated, disparage, that's such a good one, Emma, thank you. So For our opinionated baker, I think he has some anger issues. So I would look up emotions related to anger and kind of figure out what tells he has, how he gets angry. I have not always been good at this. I feel fear in my stomach and in my shoulders. So for a while, every single character I wrote got nauseous when they were scared. And it got to a point where my beta reader was like, "Are you okay? Are you having stomach issues?" I'm just noticing this recurring theme. But yeah, so once you've kind of got your little cheat sheet, and I like to, when I get to this stage, I sort of put all of I make a little character profile in my notebook with
Gillian, she/they joined.
Whoops. So we've got a writing stream after this, and it's not letting, I don't think it's letting us start the stream until we're finished here. So I'll just keep moving along. But yeah, so I compile everything into my notebook. So I've got this handy little list as I write, and I use
Gillian,
that as a help.
she/they joined.
So basically, then we have got step 10, texture. And you may have noticed that in all this time, we haven't talked about what our character's appearance is. This is because for me, I'm not really a visual person. And when I read a book, I often don't have a very clear picture in my head of the protagonist. But I also believe it's much more powerful to let your readers build that picture. However, there comes a time when it is really helpful to have an image. So for me, that comes afterwards, because we've sort of how far we've come in building our opinionated baker. We kind of know that he's sort of middle-aged-ish. He's no longer a young adult or a teen. I kind of envision him as being quite sort of traditionally masculine in appearance. He goes to the gym, he's got big shoulders, he works out, he tries to show himself it's really tough to kind of offset the fact that he is a baker. So I would suggest seeking out images, maybe building yourself a Pinterest board or a Canva mood board, creating a Spotify playlist to kind of immerse yourself in this character, this world, doing a field trip, like parking yourself in a bakery or a cafe and just taking a couple of notes about the ambience and the noise and smells and the sort of people and the vibe it has. If you are writing about an astronaut, you might end up watching YouTube videos about space launches or interviews with astronauts and stuff like that. So have a virtual field trip instead. Some people like to choose an actor or voice actor who would play this character and then test drive their voice with point of view samples and prompts. So basically taking a writing prompt like you just spilled coffee and just exploring that from the opinionated baker's perspective and seeing what that is like. I got this, oh my gosh, Write 10K in a Day by Lydia Michaels. It is an incredible book. Lydia talks about how to build a sustainable writing habit that takes care of you. So now we have 5 minutes left. Oh, no, we don't. So also going with the flow. So when you write, it helps to kind of batch your time together and just really dive into the story. And the more you can immerse yourself in these characters in this world, the more the characters will kind of step up and start to deviate from your plot and take control. This is the best possible thing that can happen. Like you're thinking, hey, I've spent all this time plotting. Why am I happy that, my story is going off the rail? Trust your characters, see where they lead you. They probably know something you don't. And if it surprises you, it will also surprise your readers. Just go with it and then update your plot, your roadmap to match what has transpired, and even plot the next steps with this new information you have. So next up, we've got the happy hour. We have Shannon, Jenna, and a huge array of awesome guests, including Maggie. Yay! And then myself and Jamie will be hosting our usual Sprintacular, so 2-hour writing live stream. Oh, hey, Jodie's got a really good suggestion here. Jodie wrote short stories of all my characters before I wrote their novel. That is such a fantastic idea. So yeah, stay in touch. Jamie and I do the writing live streams every Friday and Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can also keep up with me at my website or email me at info@gillianstkevin.com. But yeah, really briefly, throw any questions at me. If you think of a question like in half an hour's time, whatever, just leave it below this video and I will do my best to answer all questions. Angel, thank you. It has been awesome to have you with us. Oh my gosh. Okay, give me a moment. Somebody wants to say hi. Oh, you are a nuisance dog. Here we go. So yeah, here is George. He was actually much better behaved than I thought he would be. Though he was an absolute angel during Sarah Cannon's stream. He was just hanging out, super quiet, dozing in his chair. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of love for George. I'm not seeing any more questions. I'll give it a few more minutes and then I will disappear because I have to go and get ready for my writing live stream. Look at this. He was resting. There we go. See, he's just resting his face on my writing notes. Oh, Nia, I am so glad to see you here. I watched your world building on the go session and it was so good. It makes such good sense and I would never have thought of it. So thank you so much for that. Again, I highly recommend the Vixen of Fictions session. But yeah, awesome. Okay. I'm still not seeing any questions. So instead, please check out the link that Maggie has just shared here. Fill out the feedback form and enter to win prizes. This was session 10. And yeah, if you are interested, if you want to learn more about any of this, I love talking about this stuff. So just let me know. And yeah, Louise, he has been a complete brat. I took him for 2 walks this morning to try and get him to behave, but well, he did his best. Okay, we're gonna go, but yeah, enjoy the happy hour, and yeah, hopefully you will stick around, subscribe to the channel, and join myself and Jamie for the writing live streams. They're always good fun and a great place to ask questions and share with other authors. Jamie, I know, I'm sorry, I'm about to say goodbye. Basically, you just watch the YouTube channel, Dee, and just join in the chat there. But yes, I'm going to say goodbye. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day or night.